So we're here at the Daedalic days. It's the almost end of the evening. We are in the beautiful harbor of Hamburg. So you see the city in the background. And I have here Matt from Daedalic, and he's the creative lead for Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth. So what can you tell us of the? It's becoming an advent. It's getting an adventure release.
Yeah, that's the basic plan. But of course, for a project like this, it's a true epic of a novel. We of course have to search for the right way to adapt it as a interactive narration. So, and it's not only me, but I'm working together with Kevin Menz, who's doing The Devil's Man right now, and also did the Great Memoria.
And you already met Ken Follett at the book exhibition.
Yeah.
And what was it to meet him? And how did it come that you're working together on a game for such a classic novel?
Yeah, since we've been partners now with Bastei Lübbe, a very big publisher of books, but also digitally. They also do apps. One thing they didn't do so much before was what we are doing at Daedalic, interactive narration like in games. And we've started a cooperation with them at the beginning of 2014. And since then, they and Daedalic, of course, were thinking about how could we cooperate, what could we do. Not only how could what we did at Daedalic fit into what Bastei Lübbe is doing, but also how can we use all these great connections that Bastei Lübbe has and all this content. Of course, there's millions of opportunities there, and one of the ideas was one of those big dreams, because when you think about what's Bastei Lübbe, it's Ken Follett. He's one of the most successful living authors nowadays, and so the idea was born maybe just to ask him, because we at Daedalic are working a lot with fictional places, with world building, and there's among these novels that Ken Follett did, one is very famous for its world, for its fictional place, Kingsbridge. And that's the Pillars of the Earth. And Bastei Lübbe has a very close relationship with Ken Follett. So the idea was to actually bring us in touch with Mr. Follett. And yeah, as you said, we got the chance to meet him at the book fair in Frankfurt. And that was, of course, really exciting. And yeah, I personally got the opportunity to explain to Mr. Follett what we are actually doing, what interactive fiction is looking like at Daedalic, how we create our places, and how we maybe would be able to adapt the story of Jack Jackson and Alien of Shiring and the place of Kingsbridge.
And so what was there something you already showed him, or so what did you do to convince him?
Well, we had a couple of weeks to prepare for that, and I was thinking simply about if I'm an author of of games, but if I had written books like him, and what would be important for me if I trust someone to adapt it into another medium. So I tried to come up with some concepts, gameplay-wise, to also tell him who Mr. Follett himself is probably not so much of a gamer as we are. So I thought I'm explaining to him what exactly do we do? Why do we do games? What's so interesting about running around in these fictional places and hand-painted backgrounds and so on? And then also we worked with some talented artists. And after I've read a book, I thought what are key artworks we could present to him. So we created some artworks about the characters, the good guys, the villains, some architecture, an approach when you ride through, maybe with your horse, through the English landscape and close in on Kingsbridge on a winter day. How could that look like? And so we made different posters for that and a little video with music. And so we showed them part of a game that didn't really exist. And so it was really exciting to see what he might think about that, because of course it's his book, his world. Would he be interested in that, and would he really recognize what he did?
And yeah, what did he said?
He liked it, and he was really interested in how we visually approach this, and also how we might be able to make players relive the story, or introduce them to the world of Kingsbridge, because there you've got the opportunity not only to show a version to long-time fans of Mr. Follett's work, but also to introduce players maybe who are not that much into reading to Kingsbridge and its fictional characters.
And was there games has he already get in touch with games in a way, for like he played some games himself?
Well, he had some colleagues with him, and also members of his family were there in the meeting, and they were more into games than him. So I'm assuming that he has better things to do in his free time than to play computer games. But well, there actually exists a game adaptation of The Pillars of the Earth, but it's a board game from Germany. So it's about finding the resources and managing them to build your own cathedral, and which is a really good game and won a lot of prizes. But of course, we had to tell him this is a different approach. It's more like an interactive movie, and yeah. So I think we told him some new things about games that he didn't know about so much.
Can you also already tell us something about what would be, if it would be more like an interactive novel, or if you want to try something to introduce maybe new characters to the world?
Well, for me, it would be important, and that's also something that I mentioned to Mr. Follett, that it is important for me to of course adapt it in a way that it works as a game, but only change so much as to make it work in the game. We don't want to create the side story of the brother of the main character from the book to find a way to, not do it the hard way, but the character arcs that are so important for the book, that you go through all these crises and also ups and exciting moments during the lifetimes of the main characters, is something I really want to see reflected in the games. And the way I see it is that the book contains all the information about the theater stages we're going to build for the game. So we already stocked up on scientific books about the early medieval ages, and so there's a lot of research going into that too, because Mr. Follett's work is very well researched. It's historically really interestingly done and quite accurate. And now that we are visually depicting it, we have the complicated task to have this, the same level of authenticity in the game as well. So we want to bring the same level of detail onto the screen, because now everything you have not seen in the book will now be visible in the background. And usually when we have medieval settings in games, usually you can always throw in a dragon or some magic powers or something, and people will simply think, I don't care about the historical accuracy of that castle that was just blowing up. So this is a different level, and what's now really important is that these places work not as a background for some Lord of the Rings fantasy type of story, but for a story about characters. So these places really have to reflect all this. Once you've read the novel, you know that it's all very, very interconnected, and we want to bring that into the game.
Have you read the novel before you know that you're developing the game, or you probably read it now, but have you read it before already?
No, actually not. I never got around to do it, and I got the opportunity directly as a result of someone coming up with the idea. So I took the book and I was really intrigued, and I was, of course, thinking, oh, this is a huge book. And it's also in content, so there's not only in German it would be 1,200 pages, in English it's like 820, but this is, the story spans over 50 years, and that's quite a lot to adapt.
Will there be, because it's an interactive novel, will there be the typical puzzles as well, or would it be more like you was talk about the characters?
That's a good question, because that's exactly what we're working on right now. So finding the right way of adapting it also means finding the right type of gameplay. And nowadays there's a lot of different styles of adventure games or interactive narrations out there, and we want to find one that suits. So although I've started with classic adventure games, in the last year I not only as a player but also as a game maker, I've dabbled a lot with alternative concepts, and I really love how some games are classic adventure games without even using any puzzles, and it's still a little in the works how we exactly adapt it, and it's a very exciting process. So right now, for me, the most important thing is not to make sure that there's a classic puzzles in there, like fix the bucket by using an old shoe and some tar, but rather that the player understands the characters and feels embedded in this world of 1150 England. So, yeah, let's see how the end result looks like.
You feel pressure when making a video game about such a famous book?
Well, yeah, of course, but well, it's I love making games, and I just see this huge opportunity of helping to bring Kingsbridge and the whole of the story, the whole of the world to life, and I want to see it happening. So I'm excited, and whenever I feel like well, that's a lot of pressure, then I simply think I'll do the game that I want to see, and I will ask Mr. Follett for feedback and his team. We will get feedback from all kinds of friendly people out there, and yeah, hopefully that will help to make more people happy than just me.
So you accept the challenge?
Yes, you could say it like that, yeah.
Okay, so the game is set to come out 2017, so it's
Yes.
quite a long time.
Yes. In 2017 we are going to see the release of Ken Follett's third Kingsbridge novel, and the idea is to release it around the same time. So whenever people play the game, they think, wow, I really want to know more about Kingsbridge. They might pick up the novel and the second part and also be interested in the third, or whoever has already read the first two parts might be interested to see our version of that. So I hope there's a kind of synergy effect coming up.
Yes. So thank you for the interview.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the questions.